Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Likon Obanjo. Here are stories making headlines beyond the continent. Let's begin in Europe, where a major maritime accident in the North Sea has left more than 30 people injured after an oil tanker collided with a cargo vessel, triggering a massive fireball. The collision occurred on Monday morning in the Humber estuary, with emergency services receiving the first distress call at 9:48 in the morning. The MV Stena Immaculate, a U.S.-flagged oil tanker reportedly carrying aviation fuel, was at anchor when it collided with the MV Long, a Portuguese-flagged cargo ship, according to ship tracking data from Vessel Finder. Authorities are working to assess the extent of the damage and contain any environmental risks posed by the fuel spill. For more on this, I'm joined by our international correspondent, Afi Hagen. Afi, it's nice to have you around. Can you tell us the latest on this incident in the North Sea?
Well, 37 people have been brought ashore after the cargo ship collided with the oil tanker. 36 of those people are thought to be uninjured, and one person was taken to hospital, which is thought to be miraculous if you look at the footage and the pictures of the massive fireball that is seen on the water there, because one of those ships, as we said, was a U.S.-flagged oil tanker. Now, it was carrying fuel for the U.S. government, and it's believed to be at anchor when it crashed into the Portuguese-flagged container Salman. Now, that container was apparently carrying 15 containers of the chemical sodium cyanide when it collided with the other tanker. Now, sodium cyanide has a variety of commercial uses. It can be used from plate metals, it can be used in dye production as well. It's very soluble in water and can become toxic to animals and to maritime in that area, and of course can be a toxic gas as well.
So what has been the response of the U.S. and the Portuguese government to these collision between the cargo vessel and the oil tanker?
Well, we're yet to hear from the U.S. or the Portuguese government, but Downing Street has said the details of the collision are still becoming clear. A spokesperson from the Prime Minister has said today that this crash was an extremely concerning situation. They went on to say, "We thank the emergency services for their rapid response, and the Department for Transport is working closely with the Coast Guard to help support the response to the incident, and they continue monitoring the situation." Now, Hull City Council, which is the closest city council to this stretch of water, council leader Mike Ross said that there's a major operation in the North Sea for this incident, which is clearly devastating. He said people are very concerned, but there is a lot to unpack. He also said that the Humber, where this took place, this stretch of water, is one of the most dangerous estuaries in the world, and of course the North Sea as well has its own challenges, and the task now is to work out how this happened so it can never happen again. Now, of course, there is potential environmental impacts to this as well, and over the coming days the council will be working to make sure that that impact can be minimized. The Undersecretary for the State Department for the Environment, Baroness Helen Heyman, said she's extremely shocked and concerned about this North Sea collision as well, and she is looking at the emerging picture along with Downing Street.
All right, thank you so much, Afi Hagen, for sharing these updates with us. Away from that, President Volodymyr Zelenskiy landed in Saudi Arabia on Monday to meet Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. This comes a day before talks between Ukrainian and U.S. officials that Washington expects to deliver substantial progress towards ending the war with Russia. The United States, once Ukraine's main ally, has appended its wartime policies in its stated pursuit of a rapid end to the fighting, engaging directly with Moscow while stopping military assistance and intelligence sharing for Kyiv. Grappling with the new approach in the White House, Ukraine has pushed for a pragmatic solution amongst other solutions after a disastrous Oval Office encounter between Zelensky and the U.S. Zelenskiy is hoping to have a fruitful discussion with the Saudi Crown Prince. Away from that, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has voiced strong support for Bosnia's federal government as it faces an escalating power struggle with ethnic Serb leaders. Speaking on Monday, Rutte emphasized that the alliance would not allow a security vacuum to emerge in the region. Tensions have surged following the conviction last month of Bosnian Serb leader Milorad Dodik, who was found guilty of defying Christian Smisht, the High Representative overseeing the peace accords that ended Bosnia's 1990s war. Despite the conviction, Dodik remains defiant and has backed laws restricting access to Republika Srpska by Bosnia's federal police and the judiciary. However, these laws were later overturned by the Constitutional Court, and Rutte's remarks signal NATO's commitment to maintaining stability in Bosnia and Herzegovina amid concerns over rising political divisions.
Of course, I hear concerns about the security situation. But let's be clear, this is not 1992. And we will not allow a security vacuum to emerge. I know that EUFOR is fully prepared to uphold a safe and secure environment in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Any actions that undermine Dayton, the constitutional order, or national institutions are unacceptable. We will not allow hard-won peace to be jeopardized. Wavering support. But let me come back to what is really my main message today. You've got to solve this, the three of you. I really believe this is your appointment with history.
Ovo su najteži momenti od 1995. godine do danas. Imali smo priliku da vidimo brutalni udar na ustavni poredak Bosne i Hercegovine. Ova krizna situacija nije nastala odjednom, to je rezultat kontinuiranog pokušaja rušenja Dejtonskog mirovnog sporazuma. To se mora zaustaviti, a kada je riječ...
Moje kolege smatraju da je normalno da stranac donese zakon, ja mislim da nije normalno. Oni smatraju da treba poštovati sudske odluke, ja kažem da je nedopustivo da sudske odluke budu proizvod nasilja nad pravosuđem. Na tome što mislim. Dakle, ovu krizu je prouzrokovao Christian Schmidt. I džaba pričate o Miloradu Dodiku, kogo stigne da priča, zato što je ono što se desilo Miloradu Dodiku posljedica tako nekako.
Away from that, hundreds of flights have been cancelled across Germany as airport workers stage a nationwide strike over pay. The industrial action led by the trade union Verdi, which has posed a major disruption for air travelers, began unexpectedly on Sunday at Hamburg Airport before expanding to a nationwide strike. Passengers at Frankfurt, Munich, Berlin, and other major hubs have been urged not to travel to airports, with operations severely disrupted. Frankfurt, Germany's busiest airport, said passengers would be unable to board flights and transfer would almost certainly be affected. Verdi, which represents public sector and transport workers, is in an ongoing dispute over wages and working conditions.
Also es hat Auswirkungen. Man sieht es auch am Flugverkehr, es ist relativ ruhig hier vor Ort. Die paar Gäste, die jetzt wirklich hier noch unterwegs sind, das sind wirklich nur einzelne Langstreckenflüge, wo man geguckt hat, dass man die noch quasi landen oder abfliegen lassen kann. Wir wollen 8% für die Auszubildenden, 200 € mehr. Es geht um Zeitzuschläge, es geht um das meine Arbeitszeitkonto, also sprich eigene Gestaltung der Arbeitszeit. Da bewegt sich der Arbeitgeber gar nicht. Ja? Also er möchte wirklich nichts geben. Er sagt, die Haushaltskassen sind leer. Wir können nicht, wir steuern sogar eine Nullrunde an und mit einer sehr langen Laufzeit von 36 Monaten. Wir werden hier nochmal einen vor der dritten Verhandlungsrunde nachsetzen und den natürlich über alle Flughäfen hier Deutschland weg. Es ist ein Branchenstreiktag. Und man hat sich quasi mit den anderen Flughäfen auch abgestimmt, um nochmal ein ganz klares Signal zu setzen, dass zum dritten...
In a war against narcotics, Belgian authorities have introduced the country's first body scanner, aiming to enhance drug detection and crack down on traffickers who ingest drugs to evade security checks. Previously, suspects had to be taken to a hospital for examination a process that could take at least 3 hours. With the new scanner, the detection time is reduced to just 1 hour, allowing authorities to conduct checks directly at the airport. Belgium has become a hotspot for drug smuggling, largely due to its Antwerp port, a major entry point for narcotics into Europe. However, drug seizures at the port plummeted by more than 50% last year, dropping from a record 116 tons in 2023 to 44 tons. Authorities hope the new body scanner technology will strengthen enforcement efforts and help curb drug trafficking across the country.
15 gram la pièce. Elles sont
heroïne gebruiken, dan hide them. So this scan will take 11 seconds. So the scan takes place, then they will send it via a digital program. We sent to a hospital where a radiologist, a doctor, can then make a determination on whether it is a positive scan or a negative scan, and then they can kick in their processes and they will end up, obviously if it's positive, they'll end up in prison. With security issues, it picks up drugs, narcotics, organic contraband, powder, very good at electronics, mobile phones, things like that, USBs, even weapons. People conceal all sorts of things inside them. Never be surprised at what you see inside some people. So this,
vers prison. Tandis que maintenant, là, le scanning se fasse sur l'aéroport même. En d'autres mots, on gagne quand même beaucoup d'heures, 1 heure, 2 heures au moins. Et ça, c'est très important parce que le processus doit être le plus vite possible. Les avaleurs de boulettes, c'est très dangereux pour le corps. Si ça explose dans le corps, à ce moment-là, ça veut dire la mort de la personne. On peut obtenir des informations où telle et telle personne est liée à des organisations criminelles. Aussi, le comportement de la personne, si ces personnes-là ne mangent ou ne boivent rien pendant le vol, à ce moment-là, la probabilité que ce sont des avaleurs de boulettes est quand même grand. Il y a plusieurs éléments qui permettent aux gens de vraiment cibler les personnes qu'on va soumettre.
As global power shifts and new alliances take shape, questions are being asked about the relevance of the Commonwealth. Once a powerful link between Britain and its former colonies, the 56-member organization now faces fresh challenges. With trade, geopolitics and history colliding, what does the future hold for the Commonwealth? From News Central, international correspondent Avia Hagen tells us more.
For decades, the Commonwealth has been a symbol of historical ties, cultural connections and economic partnerships. Formed from the ashes of the British Empire, its members range from the world's largest democracy, India, to the small island nations in the Pacific. But today, in a rapidly shifting global order, its significance is under scrutiny. Does the Commonwealth still matter? At its heart, the Commonwealth promotes cooperation in trade, education and governance. Collectively, its economies are worth over $13 trillion, accounting for 30% of the world's population. Advocates argue that Commonwealth ties create a unique advantage, offering trade opportunities, diplomatic support, and a platform for smaller nations to have a voice. But critics say the organisation lacks real influence. Unlike the EU or the African Union, the Commonwealth has no binding policies, no shared economy, and no military alliances. With Britain's global standing shifting after Brexit, there's a renewed push to make the Commonwealth a more effective force. But is that enough to keep members engaged? At the same time, major Commonwealth members like India and South Africa are looking beyond the organisation. India is prioritising BRICS, whilst African nations are strengthening ties with China and Russia. Experts say the Commonwealth must redefine its purpose if it hopes to stay relevant in the 21st century.
What relevance did it ever hold? Other than the fact that it seems to be Britain colonized a series of different places, and then Britain suddenly, after you had the colonial offices, so suddenly the colonial office becomes a Commonwealth office or so, and it moves forward from there. But the problem we have is that if you ask the average person, other than the fact that, okay, some leaders from, say, the African continent, amongst other places, get to come along and hobnob with royalty, for, say, every so often or so during the Commonwealth meetings or something else like that. The actual real solid purpose of the Commonwealth or the benefits to the people of what is colloquially called the Commonwealth or so, the benefit to them is really hard to nail down.
Despite the challenges, the Commonwealth is evolving. Programs supporting youth development, green energy and digital innovation offer a glimpse of what a modern Commonwealth could be. But whether it can transform itself into a truly global force or remain a relic of history remains to be seen.
And Britain's, I don't know, we're going through a period of decline on the national structure. The West is not what it used to be rapidly. And I think that the Commonwealth also forms part of that too, because as Britain increasingly looks weaker on the global stage and the ties to America aren't as strong as they used to be, so the Commonwealth, which is already just seems to be a lot more of a symbolic institution, riddled in symbolic and symbolic regalia or so, insignia, will itself start to have people questioning, why are we meeting once a year and what are we exactly achieving?
With growing competition from emerging global blocs, the Commonwealth faces a defining moment. Can it reinvent itself for a new era, or will it fade into irrelevance? The coming years will decide its fate. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagan.
Many thanks for staying with us. We now take you to Asia to tell you that nearly 300 Indian nationals were flown back home through Thailand on Monday after being freed from scam centers in Myanmar as part of a wider crackdown on illegal online fraud networks in the region. According to official Myanmar authorities, under pressure from China, have stepped up efforts to shut down these criminal compounds, particularly in lawless border areas. So far, approximately 7,000 workers from more than 24 countries have been rescued, including a significant number of Chinese nationals. Many of them had been held in harsh conditions at temporary camps along the Myanmar-Thai border. Since the crackdown began late last month, China has already repatriated over 2,000 of its citizens. These scam centers are part of a multi-billion-dollar criminal industry, with authorities working to dismantle the vast networks behind these operations. In the Middle East, Iran has strongly condemned the United Nations decision to end a sanctions waiver that previously allowed Iraq to purchase electricity from Iran. In a statement issued on Monday, Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Ismail Bakai called the move illegal and accused the U.S. of lawlessness, describing it as an admission of crimes against humanity. Bakai also addressed the situation in Syria, asserting that there is no justification for attacks on minorities, including the Alawite community, which has historic ties to former President Bashar al-Assad, a key ally of Tehran. The U.S. decision announced on Sunday is part of Washington's maximum pressure campaign aimed at curbing Iran's nuclear ambitions. Tehran has repeatedly denied allegations of seeking nuclear weapons, insisting its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes.
این گونه اظهارات اعترافی است به قانون شکنی، اعترافی است به جنایت علیه بشریت، به خاطر اینکه تحریم‌های آمریکا، تحریم‌های یک جانبه آمریکا علیه ملت ایران هیچ توجیه و مبنای قانونی محکوم هست، هیچ توجیهی نداره. اینکه بخش‌هایی از جمعیت علوی، مسیحی، دروزی و سایر اقلیت‌ها مورد تعرض قرار گرفتند، واقعاً باعث جریحه‌دار شدن عواطف و وجدان انسانی هم کشورهای منطقه و هم در سطح بین‌المللی.
Now, Syria's new authorities have officially announced the conclusion of a major military operation against loyalists of deposed President Bashar al-Assad following weeks of intense fighting that claimed nearly 1,000 civilian lives. Speaking on Monday, Defense Ministry spokesman Hassan Abdul Ghani confirmed that the sweeping operation against the security threats and regime remnants in Latakia and Tartus provinces had come to an end. The announcement follows remarks by interim presidents Ahmed al-Sharaa, whose Islamist group led the offensive that toppled Assad on December 8. Al-Sharaa assured the nation that Syria will not descend into another civil war, vowing to hold all perpetrators of civilian bloodshed accountable. Meanwhile, concerns remain over the country's stability as the international community watches over how the new leadership consolidates power and manages the post-Assad transition. Let's now tell you that Catholics in Myanmar gathered at St. Mary's Cathedral in Yangon to pray for the health and speedy recovery of Pope Francis, who has been hospitalized in Rome since February 14. The 88-year-old pontiff has not made a public appearance since being admitted to Rome's Gemelli Hospital, where he has been receiving treatment for a series of respiratory crises over the past 3 weeks. Concerns are mounting over Pope Francis' recovery, with speculation that his healing process could be prolonged or even raise the possibility of resignation. While he missed his usual Sunday Angelus prayer, the Pope issued a written message renewing his calls for peace in Myanmar and other conflict zones. Myanmar has been in turmoil since the 2021 military coup, with ongoing clashes between the junta, ethnic armed groups, and pro-democracy forces. The Pope has been a vocal advocate for peace and reconciliation in the country. And that's all on Beyond the Continent. Don't forget to send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. And while you do that, follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. And you can also watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onabanjo.